This is a regular meeting of the Revere City Council. Today is January 28th, 2013. All rise, salute the flag. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Arrigo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Correggio.
Here.
Here. Councilor Gino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councilor Patch.
Here.
Here. Councilor Penta.
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers.
Here.
Here. Councilor Reardon.
Here.
Here. Councilor Zambuto.
Here.
Here. And Council President Novoselsky. Here. A quorum is present. Approval of the journals of the meetings held on December 10th, 2012, December 17th, 2012, and January 7th, 2013.
Opposed? Vote and so ordered.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask at this time
Council.
that we suspend rules. There is a motion on the calendar that needs to be addressed. The fellow from Brown and Caldwell, who we have some questions for, is here tonight, so it's calendar item number 13-020. If Councilor Zambuto agrees to that, I'd like to have that motion taken up now. And
Councilor Zambuto?
Well, Mr. President, I certainly agree to take up the motion out of order so that the gentleman doesn't have to wait all night. However, my motion is to bring the people I requested, along with a lot of other documents, up here at the next council meeting. So he can answer some questions tonight, but it's not going to change my quest for information. And by information, I mean specifications, plans, as-built, etc.
Okay. Councilor Powers.
well, I feel okay with that, Mr. President. There's been a lot of controversy about this pump station. We've spent $1 million down there on John Avenue, and I think that maybe tonight we can quell some of the uncertainty about the pump station. Mr. President, thank you.
If the clerk will read the motion, please.
Mr. President,
Councilor Guanasso.
Mr. President, a point of information. We have a public hearing scheduled, calendar item number 3, and there are people in the audience here that are residents of that area. I don't feel the necessary for that motion to be taken before the public hearing, whereas there's citizens out here waiting to be heard, at least listen to a public hearing, and why should they wait in order to just satisfy a particular council motion?
Mr. President, the only reason I suggested that is this fellow lives in Waltham, Massachusetts, and he's come all the way here, and we have an impending storm out there, and I thought it would be in good stead to do that. But it's your choice, Mr. President.
Well, we have suspension of rules already on the move. We're about to read the motion. Probably won't be for another 10 or 15 minutes, Councilor, so hopefully folks will be patient. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Zambuto, that the mayor request a representative from Brown and Caldwell, project manager for Albanese Construction, the city planner, the city engineer, the DPW superintendent, and clerk of the works, if applicable, to appear before the city council to explain the malfunctions of the brand new $1 million pump station in the Point of Pines.
Councilor Powers, is the gentleman here?
Yes, he is, Mr. President.
I would, if you can just step forward, please, give your name and address for the record, please. And if I may, if you can just give us a summary of what's going on down there, because I noticed the light's been going on a regular basis. But I would let Councilor Zambuto know that once we go through this motion tonight, I will be referring it to Public Works Committee, and everything will be brought up in front of Public Works.
Well, that's your prerogative to do that, Mr. President. That's not what my motion requests. If you want to subvert my motion, that's what I see that action as. I'm not on that committee, and I have a specific motion for specifics. So I think at the point that they come up at the next council meeting would be appropriate to send that to Public Works to review the documents, but my motion is specific in the way I've written it.
Well, the motion will be taken up tonight, and I will be referring it to Public Works.
Like I said, Mr. President, you've chose to
I
subvert
understand,
my
Counselor.
motion.
I understand,
That's
Counselor.
what you
and that's where
chose
it's
to
going.
do.
It's
And
going
I
to Public Works.
protest that profusely.
So noted. Name and address.
My name is Charles W. Lombardi. I reside at 51 Thornton Road, Waltham, Massachusetts. I work with Brown and Caldwell. They're the consultant firm that did the design of the new Point of Pines pumping station.
Counsel Powers, you want to ask some questions here?
Well, where it's
Counselor-
Councilor Zambuto's
I'm sorry,
motion,
Counselor
I
Zambuto.
think he should be asking the questions.
So noted.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here tonight. You were not called to be here tonight, sir, but I appreciate you being here. Perhaps you can preliminarily answer some of these questions. I'm getting calls from citizens that have alarm lights going off down there. I'm seeing DPW workers frequently at that place. In fact, I went by there on Saturday and saw a DPW worker in there, and I even went in myself. And some of the stuff I saw, it could be part of the plans. I don't know that. The reason I'm not going to make any accusations, because what I'm calling for, and I may never get because there's some games being played here, I want to see specifications. I want to see as-built. I want to see that this $1 million pump station is what the taxpayers paid for. You may be able to answer why we're getting alarms twice, 3, 4 times a day or a week. We're getting a lot of alarms down there. Maybe nothing. That's fine. My point in all of this is that I wanted everybody who was involved with this project to be up here to answer specific questions. And those questions I can only ask when I have the documents in front of me to see what you were paid for, what the contractor was paid for, what was delivered to the city, and what wasn't. Because what I see up there is a lot of things that I think should have been done with the old station, et cetera, but I don't know that that was part of the project. And I can't ask you any intelligent questions, except the only question I can ask you tonight is why we're having these alarm problems. Other than that, I'd have to wait until I see the documents, and I can ask you on an intelligent basis, as someone who knows how to read plans and specs, to see that everything was done according to the way it was written.
Well, I will start with this. Everything was built according to the specs and according to what the city approved and what the city wanted. And that pump station is functioning as designed. There are some punch list items that need to be done, as would need to be done with any project of that size. When the project commenced over a year ago, when it was in the planning stages, and when it came to fruition, the mayor had asked Brown and Caldwell to work with the ward councilor, Councilor Powers, throughout the course of the project, which we have done. And, you know, with regard to the station, and the primary objective of the station is to move the wastewater generated within the Point of Pines community through the City of Revere sewer system, ultimately into the MWRA sewer system, and finally for treatment to Deer Island, is exactly what's being done. It's being done efficiently. It's being done in an environmentally sound manner. Evidence of that, there have been 3 significant wet weather events in the city since the station was completed. We had Hurricane Sandy, and we had 2 significant wet weather events in December. I know because I am working closely with Superintendent Goodwin on other projects in the city, and there were sanitary sewer overflows that are referred to as SSOs if you read any kind of a report, and there are sewer backups, but there were none in that area. With regard to the alarms, Initially, there were some faulty alarms due to a miscalibration of the fire protection system that caused faulty alarms that were dealt with by the contractor. And by the way, Albanese DNS has been just an outstanding contractor. This contract came in on schedule, and with some minor change orders, many of which were requested by the city himself, and there was really no issue. Those were addressed. Then we had a second round of faulty alarms that was due to a loose door tripping a wire. That was an intrusion alarm. And recently, we have learned that there's a leak in the housing of the generator, which is causing water to come on the floor, and it's tripping a sensor that is put there in case there is any kind of an oil leak from the generator to mitigate any kind of environmental issue from any oil spill. So we are working with the contractor to make sure that that enclosure is repaired, and any leak that could give a faulty, reading to the oil leak sensor doesn't go off. Then, through this project, we have met with Councilor Powers. We have informed him, and he has informed us of issues that arose in the Point of Pine community from his constituents. And it's been a very good working relationship with Councilor Powers. I'm surprised that there are, complaints from others. I was not made aware that I had to communicate with other councilors, because I certainly would have done that. But, Councilor Powers was extremely visible throughout this project. He was there during construction on many occasions, talked with our clerk of the works, a resident engineer, whose name is Lauren Pepe. Lauren has roots here in Revere. I think her parents still live here and may know some of you councilors. So, and we work closely with Donnie Goodwin. Every issue that comes up, even before it becomes an issue, like delay in equipment, we're on the phone with Donnie Goodwin. Anytime we talk with Councilor Powers, we also inform Donnie, and Donnie and Councilor Powers have worked closely together. So, really, that station is performing as designed. There was there was a pump clogging problem with pump number 1. When that happens, the way the station is designed is the second pump comes on to handle the flow, so there's no malfunction of the pumping capability of the facility, and that took over, pumped all the waste as intended. And the way the station works is during normal or low flow conditions, that one pump will handle the station. They're variable speed pumps. That means it's like a car. It starts up 30 miles an hour. If it needs more pumping ability, it can go to 40, 50, and at a certain point, a second pump kicks on. And to make sure it runs efficiently, after it gets to a certain point, the second pump will kick on, and the first pump and the second pump will talk to each other, and they'll equalize. So it isn't going 80 miles an hour all the time, because if you take a look at your car, you're getting better gas mileage at 40 miles an hour than you are at 80. And our objective for the city is to run that as efficiently as possible to all flow conditions. During low flow, it's 200 gallons a minute, which is about 250 to 280,000 gallons per day. During peak flow conditions, it gets up to 1,600 gallons a minute, which is about 2.5 to, in some cases, 2.75 million gallons a day. And, that's what's going on right now. Real minor issues at the station, and we're working closely with the contractor, DPW Superintendent Goodwin, and Councilor Powers to make sure they're addressed, expediently and efficiently.
Thank you. Superintendent Goodwin, do we have copies of all those plans that are being requested?
With the engineering firm. They've been here since day one. A phone call could have alleviated all these questions. I'm not quite sure if Nick has the as-bills, but they've been here for quite some time.
Okay.
Well over a year. To alleviate some of the problems that Tony may have with the operation of the station, the pumps themselves are still on the old phone system alarm, so that if there's actually a problem with the pumps, it's not a red light that comes on that somebody has to say, okay, there's a problem with the pumps in the station. When the pumps have a problem, which they haven't to this point, the phone will pick up and dial who's ever on call that evening and send them down there right away.
Okay.
We do have another portion of the contract that's not fulfilled at this point, which is a monitoring system for the station that may alleviate some of these false alarms that we're kind of getting. The phone system can handle the leak detection from the generator. It can handle the smoke fire alarm system, and it's not holding the intrusion alarm on the door. The intrusion alarm looks like maybe it's solved, maybe it's not. We may have to resolve that by putting a new door on the building, because the contractor has come back, and we haven't had a problem with that till this past weekend. We did get an intrusion alarm down there. Now, I don't know if that's because somebody was trying to grab the door, trying to get into the station, and it sets off the alarm. But anytime anybody tries to gain access to that and they start rattling on that door, that intrusion alarm will go off. So I'm not saying that's what happened. We did have an issue before where the striker plate was not making contact, so we were getting false readings. The portion with the generator is going to take a little bit of time because the issue of recaulking and putting in this cold weather, it just won't take. So we do have an issue with that. With the easiest thing we could have done is taking those systems offline and just went with the alarm system that was always there previous, and nobody would know. But that's disingenuous. We don't want to feel we paid for something. We want it to be utilized. And so the easiest thing for me to do would be take off the intrusion alarm, which the station never had. Take the smoke and fire detection system out of there, which the station never had. And the leak detection for environmental activities, which the station never had. So once we get the new monitoring system put in, we'll be able to incorporate everything into the one monitoring system, and that will come via communication to the computer at the engineer's office, to my computer, and we'll be able to tell firsthand as it's going on. And the capability down the road is to actually sit in the office and be able to control the station with a computer from the office to determine whether there's a need to actually go to the station.
Okay.
But as far as the operation of the station, it's never failed. I mean, obviously, the lights coming on, Council Powell and I talk about it constantly. The easy thing would be to do, just leave it the way it used to be, and nobody would know any different. But I don't feel that, that's the right way to go.
Okay.
And so the fact of the matter is, the operational functionality of that station has not been down, not 1 minute. Yes, there has been problems with the red light going on from intrusion alarms, smoke detection, and the leaks. That's the brunt of what's going on.
All right, I want to thank you for your presentation. It was a nice, smooth presentation. It's terrific. We're still getting alarms. This sounds like that alarm that I was there for the other day was an intrusion alarm. I don't know the workings of this station. Nobody accused anybody of the pump station not working. All I know is I get calls from constituents. You don't have to communicate with me, sir. The constituents communicate with me, and I ask questions. That's what's happening here. That's why I want that group of people I requested. Now I guess it's going to go up before the subcommittee, and that's where I'll have to ask my questions when I have the paperwork in hand, and I can ask intelligent questions. Nobody's saying the pump station, you gave a good education on how the system works. Most of us know how a pump station works, and nobody accused it of being down. But we are getting calls on a regular basis from people. And Superintendent Goodwin just explained there's a lot of stuff that's not completed yet, like the remote alarm system. And I would be able to see all this if I had all the documents in front of me.
Well,
so that's all.
You'll get them.
That's all I have.
You will get them, Council.
And I would like to see the people that designed the system come up before
I'm
us.
not looking for any crosstalk, sir, right now. I want to let that council say their piece. We understand what you're saying. Council Powers, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to say at the outstart, that pump station has been a faulty pump station from the first day I was elected to Ward 5 councilor. During that time, I was constantly going back and forth with the former mayor, Tom Ambrosino. We put it out for bid. It was around $375,000 we had allocated for that pump station. It came back at over $1 million. It was put out again, and it was approved to be built. And I want to thank Mayor Dan Rizzo also for being at the forefront and continuing that project along to fruition, okay? I've had one call, okay, regarding that light. I go by there constantly, probably 5 or 6 times a week, okay? If I see something wrong with that, I call Superintendent Goodwin, okay? I'm not an engineer, but I know that when Albanese, who was, we consider an excellent contractor, was doing that job, he had Lauren Pepe, who was has roots to this city, was down there, and I talked to her constantly, almost on a daily basis, to make sure that everything that was being done down there was being done according to specification as far as she could see it, okay? Now, if there's a problem down there, as Superintendent Goodwin explained, that problem will be corrected. We invested $1 million of taxpayer money down there. We even went a little further. There were some extras like the boxing in those windows on the walls to make it aesthetically a little better. I know Superintendent Goodwin, I've talked to him about a little more landscaping down there, which will be done this spring. And I know that Mayor Rizzo and myself, and I'm sure that any member of the City Council, if there was something that was drastically wrong with that pump station, would address it right away. Your firm, Sir, Brown & Caldwell, I understand, is doing business in the city, looking to do more business in the city, so I think it behooves you to make sure that that pump station is operating according to specifications and plans as it was intended to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a couple of questions. It goes beyond the light and the problem with the station. I appreciate you, sir, coming before us. I do support Councilor Zambuto's motion. I think it brings out a lot of information. My question is going back with the Ambrosino administration, CDM was the original company that was supposed to be doing the work. And I want to know why you people came into light with this. And also, going out to bid, I'd like to see some documentation about what companies bidded on this. And the other question I have, this was only supposed to cost $800,000, $800,000 and went over $1 million. So I'm trying to find out who recommended you, sir, to do this work.
With regard to, Brown & Caldwell did a evaluation of all the pump stations in the city. That evaluation has been forwarded to DEP. They've agreed, and what we did is after evaluating each station for all the operating systems and the physical status of the facility, Brown & Caldwell prioritized the order that the station should be rehabilitated. Point of Pines was the #1 priority on that station. CDM was never intended to design that station. It was always intended to have Brown & Caldwell be the designer. We tried to design it around the original budget that Mayor Ambrosino had available. It wasn't going to work for a variety of reasons. Superintendent Goodwin went to the mayor and explained to him the need to totally replace that station, which was the right thing to do. The actual construction cost was bid. Albanese was the low bidder. All the public documents will show which companies bid. I think their bid came in at $896,000. We're talking $1 million, and I think it's a number because 896 with a couple of the extras, which were the windows. There was a manhole that was constructed many years ago that had no bottom, that was just allowing clean water to come into the station, which is a no-no, which had to be replaced. There were a few other minor things that had to be done, and they totaled less than 5% of the project. So I think we're using $1 million as a ballpark number. I think the actual number, and we can get all this because we've been very transparent about every move that's been made there, is probably under $1 million.
Counselor, if I may, just to give you an update, a lot of this bidding procedure went through our purchasing department. So any paperwork you need from them, you can go down to them and see who bid on it, who pulled specs on them, who put the bids in, and the decision was probably made between the superintendent and,
Just
his
one
group.
last question.
Thank you.
It took so long, I appreciate that. It took so long to finally get somebody to do this work. It took over a year. And I want to know why it took so long to get the company to do this work. They had to hire overtime for quite a while. So
I agree with you, Counselor. I wanted this station done back in 2004, is when I wanted the station to get done. But because of the bidding, the financial thing, problems the city was experiencing, we had problems with the Justice Department that we had to do. This station should have been done probably 20 years ago. When I came on board, Council Powers and I represented Ward 5. I know all the problems that exist down there, Council. I know the problem with that pump station. It was a problem when I was the council down there. I know the problems with the flooding that transpired down on Ellerton, York, and Arcadia Street. So we've done our best to try and rectify the problems. But if things went according to the way they were going to do, I actually put my foot down because we had other people telling us that it didn't need to be done. And you're right. I mean, we have spelled, and, I'm sure Councilor Zambudo is looking at the aspect of, we're spending overtime money because, we're sending people down there on these false alarms, which is true, Tony, and I agree. But the simple fact of the matter is that this time last year, we were spending between $4,000 and $5,000 a week on overtime to keep that pumping station running. I probably spent close to $100,000 last year alone to keep that pumping station running. So if you take what we spent keeping that dog alive for the last 10 years, we probably could have paid for half of that station. So, yes, and there are other stations that aren't quite in that problem, Jack. We went through the bidding process. The city only gave us X amount of dollars that they felt that we could afford to pay for this. Brown and Caldwell was the design right from day one. This wasn't supposed to go to CDM. It wasn't supposed to go to somewhere else. If anything, it's been the other way around.
Mr. Superintendent, if I may interrupt you. This is going to be going into committee when everything comes up, and, we have other issues and people waiting
Just
to
for
talk
all the
and
other
things,
council's
so.
information, all the documents are available right here in City Hall that Mr. Zambudo is looking for, what Council Correggio is
And we can
looking
be here
for.
all night discussing
Nobody's-
this, and we don't have that time.
And,
So-
I think a simple phone call to myself or Councilor Powers, when something happens in your water, I know, I openly speak with you all the time, Ira. I think I'm ready with Charlie. I think I always return my phone calls. I never disrespect the council. Anytime somebody wants information from me, I'm there. I'll stick my neck out, not just for the council, but because it's my job to do that for the residents.
Right.
And I think a simple phone call.
Well,
could
we're not going to get
rectify
into that
some
at
of the
this
fears
point.
here this
Well,
evening.
that'll
Thank you.
come up at committee.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I just want to point out one thing, that the important thing here is that we went through three big storms, and it worked. You obviously you did a good job. I mean, you got some stuff to work out as far as the alarm. But now, I'm the Ward 6 councilor, and I just went through $1 million contract for SDM. Is SDM? Is it CDM?
CDM.
CDM. And the superintendent will tell you that me and him spent a lot of time on Bruno and Goldie Street during those storms because it didn't work well. So I don't know if Councilor Correggio thinks that CDM would have been a better option. I have my doubts, but that was the basic idea. You solved the problem that they had down there for years, and you should be commended for that. As far as I still have my problem in Ward 6, and hopefully I know the Mayor Rizzo's working. We've had several meetings with the mayor and the superintendent, and we're gonna solve that problem. But we did have storage problems too, you know, that we shouldn't have had. So,
Thank you, Counselor. Understood.
okay.
You all through?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make that point that the Pines should be glad that they got the company.
And I'm sure they're very thankful that you appreciate it.
All right.
Counselor Penta.
I'm not sure if some councils get 3 minutes and some get a minute and a half, but we'll see.
We're timing everyone, Counselor.
The only thing I mean, we're talking about the pumping station, and I think we're missing the point of Councilor Zambudo's motion. And it's very simple about the alarm intrusion. I heard, Charlie, yourself, and Brown and Caldwell has a great reputation across the whole state. So I'm not going to question your work or anything else. But you yourself said, the superintendent said, and I'm sure residents said to Councilor Zambudo, the door had intrusions, alarm went off. Leaks on the floor, I'm sure that triggers the alarm. Possible oil leak triggers an alarm. Striker plate triggers an alarm. False alarms might be minor issues, but to a neighbor that has to listen to the alarm that calls a counselor up, you know, it's frustrating. So I could see the frustration on Councilor Zambudo, and all he wants to do is rectify it, and I'm sure you probably already rectified 3/4 of these problems, if not all of them. So, I mean, was the council motion out of line? I don't think so. People are trying to make it sound like it is. But, I mean, that's here and there. And I'll end it with that. I just want to acknowledge former Councilor Rotundo in the audience. Thank you, Mr. President.
So noted.
Could I just say one thing, Councilor Penta?
Very quickly,
There's not
sir.
an audible alarm. It's a visual alarm.
Yeah.
So there's no alarm that's...
Even the lights, people get
Yeah,
nervous
the light
down
is,
there.
the light's flashing. It's alarms that weren't alarmed before that we've immediately addressed, will continue to address. And when we put this control system in, it will bring them all together and permanently address all of them.
I have 2 pumping stations in my ward, one on Benedict Street, one on Broad
Gentlemen,
Sound Ave.
we're not looking for any more
And they're also
discussion
done
on it.
with a light. And trust me, I send city workers by, I go by there myself when there's a major storm, and, you know, you want to know if it's working good. Because if it's not, you got some issues and problems.
So noted.
I don't think it was anything against your company or whatever. You know, alarm's an alarm. There was an admittance of issues that cause an alarm to go off, or the light to go off.
No issue here.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, vote and so ordered.
Thank you all.
We're still under suspension of rules. Well, we have someone that has to go to another meeting, and this should take 5 minutes. Joint poll location,
This is for calendar item number 6 regarding the application presented by Verizon for a joint pole location on Revere Beach Parkway.
name and address for the record, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, my name is Joseph Gleason. I'm a right-of-way agent with Verizon New England, Inc. Our office is located at 20 Shattuck Road in Andover. Before I start my presentation, I'd like to thank the council and the president for allowing me to take this out of order. I do have a hearing in Chelmsford this evening as well, and I had anticipated it would take me at least an hour to get to Chelmsford from Revere. So I do thank the council for the courtesy this evening. And I do agree, this will probably take less than 5 minutes. Or at least my presentation will. The request of Verizon and National Grid this evening is for a joint pole location along what our engineer has designated as the Revere Beach Parkway. I believe it's more appropriately the Winthrop Parkway. It is Revere Beach Parkway. Well, it's the area adjacent, directly across the street from the Revere Police Station at
Right.
Albert Avenue.
Correct.
Our engineers have indicated that pole 4300, which is right at the corner of Albert Avenue and the Revere Beach Parkway, is listing very badly, and there's a lot of service that runs up Albert Avenue. And what our engineers have determined to be the remedy to this would be the placement of what's called a stub pole. Now, a stub pole is basically a supporting structure. It's a bit of an undersized pole, and all it really does is it holds a guy wire and anchor. So the engineering methodology here would be to place a what they call the stub pole with a pole to ground anchor behind it within that grass island strip directly across from Albert Avenue, and to run a guy wire across from existing pole 4300 to this new stub pole. And again, this is just a supporting structure. The pole won't be used to carry any facilities or equipment, save for the guy wire itself, and it will help counterbalance the pole that's creating that listing on that pole 4300. Thank you.
Okay, just so you know, that was my request, that pole be corrected through your Verizon representative, and that is in my district, and that was caused by a water break that was there. That's why it's listing, because the way it was put in before was, it hit one of the water pipes when they put it in. So they should address it quicker than quicker, if I may say. But we're on a public hearing. All those in, so we still have to do opposition and, okay. So I'll close that hearing, that part of the hearing. Are there, councilors, any questions? Council?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the gentleman a question. This will be considered like a double pole within the community, correct?
No, actually, it won't be. The pole that's listing will not have to be relocated or removed. What will happen is that the counterbalancing structure will be placed across the street from it, and they will run the guy wire and hopefully bring that pole back in a straight configuration.
Why wouldn't they just replace the pole?
To be honest with you, they may decide to do that. I haven't been informed or advised that that's what they're going to do. But that may be in the works, and I can certainly get a clarification from our engineer as to whether or not. If, now, to further answer your question, if there's going to be a replacement of the pole, that, first of all, would not be something that would come before the council. That is something that the utility has the right to do under its original grant.
Exactly.
But if there is going to be a replacement of that pole and a slight relocation of the pole at the locus, then yes, you would have at that particular point a double pole, and it would really be incumbent upon each of the utilities to quickly get off of that pole as possible to alleviate that double pole as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's why, you know, we've been addressing, the city council been addressing double poles within the community for many, many years. We're finally getting to the end where it's, most of them have been corrected. Now, to put a guide wire over there, I don't know if that's the best interest of public safety. I would rather have a new pole. But again, as you said, you check it out and see what we can do.
Yeah, as far as that's one possible remedy. You could, when you have a situation where a stub pole is required, you might be able to put an upgraded pole or a larger size pole at that location. However, based on my sort of elementary observations out there, you do have that pull going up Albert Avenue, and there's a lot of service going up there. So I would suggest respectfully that while you could upgrade the pole and upsize it, you would probably still need to have some form of counterbalancing structure to alleviate that pole.
Even for a new pole, correct?
Yeah, that's the $64,000 question, Counselor. A lot of times this comes up when we have stub pole requests, and the question then becomes, can an upsized pole alleviate the need for a stub? Some locations, yes. Some locations, no. Again, based on my observations out there, I would say this is one that would probably be better, would probably benefit from a stub pole as opposed to just an upgrade, because I think you're still going to get that pull on Albert Avenue. It's going to create continued listing.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Roll call.
On the petition of Verizon, that the City Council move to approve a new stub pole on Revere Beach Parkway to hold the pole line for Albert Avenue. Councilor Rigo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Correggio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hass.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Penta.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Reardon.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. The petition for the pole location has been granted.
Item number 3.
Calendar item number 3, hearing called is ordered on the application of Charles Lightbody, 8 Revere Street LLC, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to construct a 17-foot by 42.5-foot one-story addition to an existing non-conforming structure and non-conforming use on Lot 30 at 8 Revere Street.
The applicant in favor of, as a proponent, name and address for the record, please, when you get up.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. For the record, my name is Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance, here this evening on behalf of 8 Revere Street LLC. Dave Lightbody is also in attendance this evening to answer any specific questions. We come before you this evening to request a special permit to alter a pre-existing non-conforming structure located on number 8 Revere Street. The subject property is located in the RB zoning district. The lots comprise approximately 17,750 square feet, and it currently houses the Sons of Italy, which is a one-story block building that's comprised of approximately 2,444 square feet. The proposal is to construct an addition on the rear portion of the building, shown here in brown. That addition is approximately 17 feet deep by 42.5 feet wide. It's an alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming structure in that the RB zoning district requires a 20-foot front yard setback and a 20-foot side yard setback. The existing building is set approximately 18 feet off of Revere Street, and the sideline of the building is set basically right on the property line. We did have a survey done of this property and located the existing building and found it to be right on the property line. The addition is proposed to be approximately 0.4 of a foot off of the property line, right at the rear of the building, approximately 0.6 of a foot off the property line at the rear of the addition, such that the addition is slightly less non-conforming than the existing building. The building is a one-story block building. The proposed addition will be a one-story block. It will house a small office as well as storage space for the club. I'm told that there was previously a structure back there. There was a sort of a cold storage for the club that was damaged in a somewhat recent automobile accident. So the applicant wishes to build something a little bit more sturdy and something that'll work a little bit better with the building so that the building can continue to function. So I guess with that, I would turn it back to the council for any questions or comments you may have.
We'll go through the proponents. Any other proponents? Are there any other proponents? Anybody in favor of this application? Hearing and seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Any opponents? Anybody opposed to this? Anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that portion. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I reviewed the proposal in detail, and I have absolutely no question in my mind that it's a proper use. I've been assured that it's going to be used for storage of whether it be liquor bottles or liquor boxes, and a small office to accommodate some of the work that's necessary to conduct a business there. This is a proper use for this particular location. It gives enough buffer from the closest neighbor, and it abuts their backyard in a very beautiful garden at that it exists there, and certainly this is not going to infringe upon that. And I spoke with the neighbors, and there aren't any neighbors that are in opposition to this because this is in continuity to what exists there now. And it doesn't bring additional traffic. It doesn't bring anything additional to the area with the exception of alleviating some of the concern that they have for storage. And if one were to go into the particular location and notice, they don't have an ounce of storage within that building. And this is very appropriate. And as the presenter stated earlier, there was a makeshift storage area there before someone went into it by accident and knocked the structure down. It wasn't a structure in itself. It was just a plastic thing containing that area. So I have absolutely no questions at all. I think that it's a proper proposal, and I would support it and ask that my colleagues do also.
Okay, this, under our rules, we cannot vote it on the same night. It will go into committee, zoning committee. So
Mr.
whenever council...
Can I
Yes.
just ask a question to the attorney?
Sure.
The only question I have, and I know the place very well down there, is there was a shed there before. As the council said, the car went into it and destroyed it. Why couldn't you just go back to the building department, ask for a permit, and sidestep this whole thing here. Doesn't make sense why you would have to come for a special permit when all you're really doing is replacing what was destroyed down there. So I don't even know why it's here, but
Sure. We did attend a site plan review back in November, I think was reflected in the letter that was probably forwarded onto the council. I think the difference being is this is a more substantial structure with a foundation and so on and so forth, so the building inspector thought it prudent to go through this
yeah, the
process.
building a little stronger, that's about it. But no,
Correct.
what it is what it is.
So noted. This will go into the zoning committee.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 8, communication from the mayor relative to the DPW union contract.
Hey, gentlemen and ladies, we got a letter from the mayor regarding the DPW contract, and they want us to ratify it, and the information was sent up in our packets, and the money has been approved in our budget last year, and everything seems to be in order. Is there any discussion or on this to vote on it? Okay, move to ratify the contract for the DPW workers.
That the City Council approve the contract between the City of Revere and the Revere Public Works Department employees, AFSCME Council 93, Local 880 contract. Councilor Arrigo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Correggio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Genino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hess?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Penta?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Reardon?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, the DPW union contract has been approved.
Back to regular order of business.
Calendar item number 1, the joint utility company meeting.
Our favorite utility people. Who's up first? Mr. Yusevich, name and address for the record, please.
Stan Yusevich, Verizon, with offices at 63 High Street. I'd like to start with some good news, Mr. President. Dan Cameron's son got into Yale. But actually, we removed 46 poles in the month of December. That brings the total to 245 since August of 2011 when this process started. So we've made great progress. Verizon has, when I called up the report, we have 4 ball in court. So our numbers are at the lowest that they've been for some time. And again, it's a tribute to the council and all the utilities working together.
Thank you.
Good work, Stan.
Don't applaud yet.
I'll send up the others.
Yeah. Councilor Janino. Councilor Janino, questions, comments? New complaints. To Stan or someone else? In general. Say your piece.
So I have poll number 2962 in front of 99 Sigourney Street. I got an email about that, so I'm not sure who's responsible for that right now.
And the issue is?
It's double pole.
It's a
And it's
double.
right in front of a residence, so they were concerned about that.
What was the street?
It's 99 Sigourney Street, poll number 2962. It went up looks like June 1st.
Sigourney Street.
99, yep.
I don't have it on this list. If you could forward it to me, I'll make sure that the foreman puts it on the PLM list.
And that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for coming before us. I got a few calls on two poles. They've been there for quite a while. I went down and gave an observation. Pomona Street and Revere Street, across from the Bonfilio Funeral Home. One of them looks like it's kind of loose. With any kind of a windy day, the pole is like moving quite a bit. You might want to investigate that, but those two poles, actually Pomona and Revere Street, need to be addressed. So if you can-
Councilor Verona?
Pomona.
Pomona.
Pomona Street.
And it's
And
a
Revere
singular,
Street.
it's a singular pole? It's not?
Yeah, it's opposite 128 Revere Street. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stan, on Martin Street, those poles are still there. Can you tell me who the people are that are on those poles that need to be put in action to get something done there?
On Martin?
Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N.
I don't have it listed.
Of course not. It's right across from my house. It's been staring me in the face every day I come out. And
No, and Councilor, I know that they were on the list last time.
I know. What happened? The list got thrown
Don't know.
away?
I'll find out.
Martin Street has 4 double poles still in existence. It's only a street with about 8 houses and 4 double poles. In fact, if they're going to stay there any longer, we're going to start building on them and put some rooms up, and we'll charge them.
Okay,
Put some antennas up.
Thank you, Stan.
okay.
Councilor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is probably better directed to National Grid, but, and I have to say this, you don't hear from me much, and I keep driving around trying to find some work for you. Can't find, it's very difficult to find work in Ward 4. Every time I find one, it gets fixed. But that's not a bad thing. So I do have another issue that I brought up back in December, and I have not yet seen the administration's response on the calendar, although I have seen a response, and I think it's largely due to a misunderstanding of what I requested at the time. And I'll briefly put this into perspective. We have received a grant, very valuable grant in my opinion, for surveillance cameras in our school system. 8 of them, 6 or 8 of them, and I believe we may be even getting a few more from what I'm hearing today from the people who are running the program. But at this point, the program to get the cameras online, surveillance cameras online, and parenthetically, I'll say in light of events of last month, as I'm sure we're all aware, the tragedy down in Newtown, Connecticut, I think it's more imperative than ever that this be addressed. But I was advised that for what I will describe as exceeding red tape, we have gotten to the point where we're considering abandoning, or at least the people who are in charge of this thing from the superintendent's perspective and the police department, because of excessive red tape, meaning difficulty getting permits, permission from the utilities, difficulty regarding the necessity of meters for a very few cents worth of electricity, and probably several other technical issues which I'm not able to discuss. We have not gotten the cameras in place, and I think it's a shame. I'm wondering if you fellows would be willing to take this up in some respect and see if we can somehow get past this and get this. I believe the grant was over $600,000 and possibly more. And they're prepared to now, at this point, to take the cameras down and use them elsewhere, or use them in an area that they were not intended to be used. They're already actually mounted on poles, from what I understand, yet there's no electricity going into them. So I'm wondering if you guys would be willing to sit down with the superintendent's office and the police commission, the police chief's office, because I know they'd love to sit down with you, and perhaps me. I'd certainly be willing to moderate to get these surveillance cameras in place. I think it's well, for lack of a better term, and it's overused, but I think it's a no-brainer that we have to get these cameras functional and as soon as possible.
Dan?
Yes, I am aware of what you're describing. I was made aware of that in December. I was not aware that they were already installed, but we do. All I can say is this: yes, we're willing to meet But out of respect for safety, both for the public and our own workers that have to work on those poles, we do have, some policies that have to be adhered to. And that's all we're trying to, we do have a policy for, specifically for surveillance cameras that need to be attached to poles. But it all revolves around safety and reliability as to what we ask who's ever installing it to conform to the National Electrical Code. So the same standards that we have, we just ask that people that are going to attach to our poles do the same.
Well,
I think it got caught up in maybe people thinking it was a lot of work. But I think the best thing is, you're right, I think we can sit down and maybe walk through what would need to be done in order to make this happen.
Well, I've been appraised of the fact that there are several other communities in the local area, perhaps Everett, I think Brookline, have had no problem whatsoever doing this. So, and you could well be, it just could be a matter of adhering to standards.
Exactly, that's all it is.
And no other red tape. But someone is of the impression out there that this would be, going further with this project would be cost prohibitive. And I think that's a shame. So I'll have the superintendent's office get in touch with you, and maybe we can set up a meeting or something like that.
Sure.
Where we can, so everybody's on, everybody at least has in their sights what the difficulties are, and then maybe come up with a plan to address them.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dan, I keep on mentioning Conan Street, from Malden Street to Fenley Street. Have you had a chance to go up there and just look at it?
Yeah, that is on the, because of the, I think we responded saying because of the winter moratorium, whatever, that is scheduled to be done in the spring.
It will be done this spring?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. President, actually, you should really correspond to us. That it will be done this way here, be part of the council packet. We won't have to ask the question once again.
Okay. I think we did that already, but we can do it again. Yeah. Yep, no problem.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you. Briefly, Mr. President. Dan, I know I've spoken to you before as recently as earlier tonight regarding that situation on that yard on Rice Avenue where the pole is. And I'm wondering if it would be possible for you tomorrow morning. I'm going to give that information to the homeowner.
Okay.
But if you could just give that legal department over there one more push and see if they can just supply us. All we want to see is a plot plan where it shows that they have some type of an easement, National Grid does, on that property. And, if that's the case, then there's no problem. But we'd like to see it in writing.
Okay.
And I know the resident would too.
Yep.
Thank you, Dan. Bye.
Okay. To whomever wants to answer these on double polls. Blake Street, Centennial Ave. James Street, North Shore Road, Revere Beach Parkway, Ocean Avenue. Let's start with number one, Blake Street. I guess that's a sub-electric line.
It does.
Whose ball? Neighbors are very upset that they're seeing a double pole down there. They moved the telephone lines already. I don't know how, but, I guess maybe because it's not a major line, electric line, but if we can work on that. 300 Ocean Ave, I think that's a Verizon issue. That's a half pole, number 334, the corner of Ocean, east side of Ocean Ave, near 300 Ocean Ave. Looks like it's not even on the list, and there, from what I can see, there's no wires on it. Centennial Ave, pole 3310. I've been screaming about this. As far as I know, there's nobody on it, Tim. I don't know whose ballpark it is, and I haven't gotten a recent list, but...
Counselor, that's our a pole. We'll take care of it.
Well, there's nothing attached to it. That's the whole thing. All you have to do is clear the ballpark. And whoever's next, please.
Sure.
I've been screaming out there for 6 years. James Street, pole 727. Looks like electric.
What street, Council?
James.
Oh, James. Yeah, it's us.
Please. I know the street light has to be moved also, so. North Shore Road, pole 1526. It's an empty pole. The new pole's was put up 4 years ago, and not one thing has been transferred. So, but I think National Grid's next in line on that. Revere Beach Parkway, pole number 48. It's telephone only that's on it. Then on the list, you have pole 41. It shows Revere RFD on the ballpark unless you have something different on it. But again, it's just a clear, there's nothing attached to it. Thanks, Tim. And that's it for me for that. I just want to, Dan, through you, I sent you several emails on those lights that are out up in Lee Burbank Highway.
Nothing yet.
6 months for streetlights. I don't think that's acceptable.
Right.
So there's two of them up there at Hitchborn Street. Top of Hitchborn. I don't have the numbers handy.
Okay, can you email me?
But I'll email again,
tomorrow?
you know.
Okay, email it to me.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have in the past.
Yeah, okay.
So. Any other? Councilor Guanasso.
All right, just one question. Dan, to you. On 11 Fry Street, there's a pole located there. I tried to identify what pole number it was, but there was no pole number attached to it for some reason. The light goes on, goes off, goes on, goes off. 11 Fry, F-R-Y-E.
Okay.
Any other councilors? Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations.
Thanks.
God bless your bank account. We'll see you next month. Yeah.
Calendar item number 2, pursuant to Council Order 12-309, the owners of Anthony Market have been requested to appear before the City Council to discuss mass littering of lottery tickets in the area of Anthony's Market located at 760 Broadway.
Councilor Guanasso, is that yours? Yours and
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Reggio?
on a couple of occasions, we've had the very unfortunate situation occur that there were hundreds of lottery tickets scattered about on Malden Street, Graves Road, Gage Ave, and I'm talking in the hundreds. We identified and traced it back to Anthony's location. And they were canceled in a year 2010. The only one who would have access to this would be the person who sold this. And so this is the reasoning why we've asked you up here this evening. The thing that concerns me most about this is the second type occurrence. This is a complete, total disregard for our neighbors. And it's very disrespectful to the community to have somebody at that location have access to these tickets and scatter them about recklessly, just causing vandalism, causing a hardship to the community, and making the city look like a dump. Visitors traversing through our community that day would say, what's going on here? But more importantly, the residents who would live here are saying, what's going on here? Why are these tickets scattered about throughout all our properties? And it happened in a time with a holiday season where people were enjoying guests coming to their home. I just can't for the life of me understand how this could happen. If it happened once, anything can happen once. But this happened twice. Can you bring to light or talk to this council and tell us what's going on? How did this happen? And I heard that management changed. No. That's unacceptable because this just happened in December. So you people have been, the management changed well before that. So can you enlighten us?
Matt, just for the record, name and address. For
Mackinson Lewis, 142 Corners in Revere. I'm here on the behalf of Anthony Market Stores.
If you can answer us.
Apparently, sir, a lot of people purchase tickets. On the behalf of the store, I don't believe the store will go around scatter ticket around the city because they are doing business.
Sir, you missed the whole point. The whole point is these were all tickets cash tickets. These weren't live tickets. These were tickets that were given to the individual at the store to redeem them.
So they were cash ticket. There wasn't
Yes,
ticket that was
these
sold.
weren't live tickets. These are all, and so the onus of responsibility lies with whoever had these boxes of these tickets. We have people who buy tickets, but they don't buy them by the thousands. These were all, and they're all the same date.
Obviously, they didn't understand what's going on. That's why I'm here. So apparently,
I don't want to fault you, sir, but it certainly, we want to bring to light and let these people know that this is the second time this occurred. And the neighbors are very upset.
Okay.
And the neighbors theoretically are their customers, and they're upset. So that's not good for business.
Let me clarify that with them. Let me explain it to them.
Sure. This is, we're going to get a lot of results from this, I can see that.
Right. Hey, man, throwing all over from Alden Street and everything else, awful.
I'm talking. Excuse me, sir. How long is this going to take place? A simple question. I mean, the thing that's disturbing here is he doesn't even, if I can't convey my thoughts to him, then we have a problem.
Apparently, they don't know what happened. They don't know what happened to
I
the
can
ticket.
come up anywhere and plead that I don't know what
They cannot explain
happened.
it. It's unexplainable. It's not something that could explain. They don't really know what happened to those tickets. It's not something that can explain.
Well, here's the chain of thought that I have, sir, and I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to be rude, but I just want to get my message as clear as I can be. If any such occurrence as this happens again, I'm going to petition the lottery to have them take the lottery system out of that location, because that shows a disrespect to our community. And I think the lottery would pay attention to this. This didn't happen once, now it's happened twice. If it happens again, you can convey to your friend or your client that I will petition personally, I'll go, and I'll ask the endorsement of this council and the mayor and his administration to have that lottery system removed from that location. And then he might understand what we're trying to get at here.
Okay. I completely understand, except they just don't understand what's going on.
Yeah,
so I'll
so if
explain
you want
to
to, at your later on, you just convey that message to him, and if any other councils want to join in, I am promising you, these are the actions that I will take, because they have to own up to these type of things. Can't come here and play, I don't know. You have to know something. And if you don't know, then you have to be aware of where your trash is being placed. And it seemed to me like it was a blatant act of vandalism by throwing these and discarding these all over our community. This was done objectively for one purpose, and they achieved it. But now we have to show that we mean business too. And I certainly will live up to what I said. And,
okay.
And I appreciate you being the middleman, but I don't particularly care for when someone comes to the podium and has no idea what the heck I'm talking about or what I'm trying to convince or convey, because I have a duty to people I represent to make sure this doesn't happen again.
I agree.
Thank you, sir.
I will explain it to them and make sure
it won't
happen
again.
It. Okay?
Thank you.
Councilor Correggio, don't go yet.
Thank you, Mr. President. This came up by myself. I put a motion in by myself and Councilor Granasso because this happened twice. And what happened was, back in the spring, when we had a major spring cleanup in the city, that particular week, they had this cleanup on a Saturday, and then a Sunday morning, there was thousands of tickets, not only from Graves Road, they went all the way down to Sigourney Street and Malden Street. They went down to Washington Ave, and there was like thousands. As a matter of fact, Channel 7 come down, and they had it on TV and everything about these tickets. And it was really disgraceful because, we just did a major cleanup and trying to keep the city clean, and then you see all these tickets. And then the second time, they did it again, but they did it in a smaller area. They did Graves Road and part of Malden Street. So if you can convey to him, I know there's a language barrier, that maybe he can put a sign up telling people that buy these tickets not to just discard them in the street, maybe have a lid on a dumpster that maybe children don't get at it. Explain to him something about it that we can address the issue that this doesn't happen again. And but it was really, really bad. I mean, neighbors are all upset. I mean, and they did it like around 10 o'clock at night, between 10 and midnight, and they just put thousands. I never saw so many tickets in my life. They were like confetti everywhere. So if you can convey to him to see if we can try to, put a stop to it or take some kind of action. But thank you for coming before us, and we appreciate it.
I'll make sure I'll explain it to them. Everything will be clear.
One more, Matt. Council Vice President Janino.
Thank you. I wasn't aware at first that these were already cashed tickets that the issue was occurring from. So just for our own knowledge, what is the process once these tickets are coming in through how they are disposed of? Like, is there some sort of way that these clerks are, taking them and making sure they're properly disposed of? Are they just going into general trash, or how are they being handled that something like this could occur?
I will talk to them like 100. I'm not 100% sure either myself. I'm here on their behalf of them to explain it, because what they were thinking, they thought it was just purchasing ticket, not cashing ticket. That's what I was thinking myself too. I didn't see the ticket, and I'll find out if they have to appear before you guys again to explain that, or I could ask them immediately, quickly, and ask how do they recycle the ticket, how do they throw the tickets away. Should I?
Matt, I don't think you're going to have to come back right now unless it occurs again, on behalf of the councilors. But just tell him to watch himself, make sure he destroys those tickets appropriately, and that they don't get in a rip bag and blow all over the place. If that's what happened, we don't know. And we would also ask, I know there's been a problem all over the city that they put a sign somewhere on their inside the store. They ask people not to throw the tickets on the ground when they threw scratching, and maybe have an extra barrel outside the store or inside the store so they can just discard their bad tickets.
Okay, sounds good. I'll explain it to them. Okay.
Place on file.
Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered relative to an ordinance regulating medical marijuana dispensaries. That should actually read treatment centers in accordance with the law.
There's a public hearing. Proponents. Are there any proponents? Medical marijuana distribution centers, locations, and the zoning. Hearing and seeing no proponents. We'll close that side of the hearing. Opponents. Are there any opponents? You want to speak on behalf of him, ma'am? No, I don't. Okay. I'm the only one. Okay. So noted. Hearing and seeing none, that side of the hearing is closed. Councilor Zambudo. Now, may I say, gentlemen and lady, that realizing this has to go into zoning, until the next, at least until the zoning committee meets. So all of our efforts will be put into those nights. So please take that into consideration. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I assume by that comment you want me to be brief, and I will. We all know that medical marijuana has passed, and what some of us might not know is that there's only one of these dispensaries required in the entire Suffolk County. If anybody here thinks that there won't be one in Boston or in Chelsea or somewhere else, I think it's a stretch. So I think we're on solid legal ground. We've run this by the city solicitor that we'll have a no everywhere. I think one of the examples we can look at is how well this is working out in California. I'm being facetious, of course. It hasn't worked. It's very scary. So I don't think we need one in Revere. I hope we never have one in Revere, and that's the reason for this ordinance change. Thank you.
Councilor Guanasso.
As recent as yesterday's Boston Globe, they had quite a good article in reference to the marijuana, medical marijuana, and they stated there's already 4 cities and towns that already have this ordinance in place, and after us, there's several other towns that are thinking the same thing. So I don't understand, and it's kind of a mystery to me as to what the electorate is thinking when they pass such a thing as medical marijuana. If they can refer very clearly to the great state of California, I don't know what's next that's going to be legal there, but I hope that we pay attention to what's going on there, what this drives, because there's suggestions that there will be houses full of these all over the community because it's legal, and everybody has a medical issue that they can refer to as to why they need marijuana. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I think many professional people and doctors have already stated that this is the first event leading on to higher or more efficient drugs so that the drug user gets a greater high or something of that nature. I'm not sure of that, I don't know that. But the only thing I am sure of is that we've got to control these types of activity in our community. We have alcohol that's sold in our city, but we have a license commission that oversees that. We have a police department that overwatches the watchdogs of the community for overuse users in this type of activity. Marijuana doesn't have any authority at this point, and it's very new to our community. And the least thing we need now is something new to our community and any community in this country that's unregulated. I just think that we're getting too lenient with too many things. I think our federal government has really put a damper on a lot of programs that really would be beneficial because they're so liberal in giving these types of awards all over this country. I just can't believe what the voters out there are thinking when they voted for this, and I can't believe what the mentality is that exists to suggest that this is good. And I just hope that we do whatever we can, and if we're tested in the courts, we join our neighboring cities and towns, and we join in collaboration with them to defeat such a stupid and foolish thing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very, very brief. I mean, I agree with Councilor Guanasso 100%. I'm opposed to it. We have a healthy city. We want to keep the city healthy. We don't need this sort of clinic in the city. I'm opposed to it. A lot of cities are already voting, taking votes opposed to it, and I hope this thing goes down. I am on the zoning committee, so I will be voting it down, a no vote. Thank you.
Gentlemen and lady, this will be referred to combined committees of legislative affairs and zoning.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called is ordered upon the application presented by Crown Castle NG East, Inc. for a permit to install conduit in fiber locations and to attach equipment to existing utility and streetlight poles.
Applicants, name and address for the record, please. Push the button on the box. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Joshua Trauner, Government Relations Counsel for Crown Castle, 13105 14th Avenue, College Point, New York. I'm here with my colleague.
Anthony Adams. I'm the Site Development Manager for Crown Castle. I'm at 107 Beaver Dam Road in Situate, Massachusetts.
Yes. Well, Crown Castle is a telecommunications company. We build telecommunications networks by attaching equipment to existing utility poles in the public right-of-way. We are proposing 2 locations for our telecommunications equipment in the city of Revere. In your packet, one is on Franklin Avenue and the other is on Walnut Avenue. These two locations are part of what we call a DAS, or Distributed Antenna System. Creates a network that's distributed. We have over 400 of these locations across the greater Boston area, including local communities, Lynn, Chelsea,
Everett,
and Everett,
Malden.
and Malden. Across the country, Crown Castle is the largest provider of these types of networks. We have over 8,000 of these equipment locations located across the country. So we have a need for two of these locations, and that's why we have applied for a grant of location for these two. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the network.
It's going to be referred to our committee.
Okay.
So any questions will come up then. Are you through with your presentation? Are you through with your presentation? You have more?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other proponents? Any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of hearing. Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Hearing and seeing none, close that side of hearing. Any councilors on it? Councilor Hess.
Just for information, do you dig up a street and put your lines beneath the street?
That's an excellent question. Primarily, these are aerial, where there are poles and there are wires. We need to bring two things to this equipment. We need to bring power, and we need to bring fiber optic cable. Aerial feed is always our first option. Our fiber plan, which is part of the application, actually does call for an extremely small trench of 42 feet across Walnut Avenue to the existing pole line. Everything else in the city is going to be aerial. That's one run of about 1,100 feet and another run of about 470 feet.
So it's basically going beneath the ground, up to the pole, et cetera.
That's right. Once we hit the pole, we go up and run aerially the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Councilor
No double pole situations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tell me what your network is. Is this wireless communication? Is that what are these? What do you do?
Crown Castle is merely an RF transport company. It's telecommunications. We take our customer's signal from any wireless device there may be, and we transport the signal so if it's whatever device they have, phone, iPad, tablet, anything like that, the signal runs via RF to the antenna that we're placing at the top of the pole. We then take the signal, convert it to light, shoot it through our fiber optic network back to a switch or a hub somewhere off the public right-of-way, and at that point, our customer takes control of the signal again.
But what is your customer?
Well, we have a lot of different customers across.
Well, give me an example of a
Yes.
customer then.
Specifically here, we are building this network for Metro PCS.
Okay, so it is for wireless communication.
We are a neutral host carrier. We build the network on behalf of a customer, but we own and operate the network.
I see.
And once the network is up and operating, we then sell it to other customers who may want to use it.
Great. Thank you very much for your information.
Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, Councilor Sambudo asked one of the questions. You answered. The other question is inside the phone company, you have an okay from them already? Are you paying them rent evidently?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a nationwide attachment agreement with Verizon and a local attachment agreement with National Grid.
You do?
So we pay them to use, for each pole we hit with the fiber, I believe we pay them, and for each pole where we attach our
So
equipment.
for Revere residents, what is the benefit? Unless you get the PCS phone, I mean, there is no benefit, correct?
Well, our networks carry E911 traffic, so any improved connectivity is improved safety for the residents.
But all I'm saying is, I mean, Denstar and everything else, I mean, they charge enough utility bills. We have them up here once a month. I think Council Reardon asked them a question, maybe to get involved in helping us set up the cameras on these poles.
Right.
I don't know if your company would be willing to sit down with that group also.
I would like to do
Where
that.
it's a
I've done that with
moneymaker
some other-
for your company.
That's right. If that,
I'm
So
sure
maybe give it to Council Reardon or the Council
Absolutely.
President, your information.
I know,
get over.
we are a telecommunications company. The term of art is a CLEC, a competitive local exchange carrier. We have the same rights and responsibilities as all telecommunications carriers.
No, I understand, but it's about time you people start giving a little back to the community. You come here looking, and you people are making money for your company, and you just said it yourself, you have one contributor right now to your company, but you're going to expand that through property, possibly Verizon or whoever, or, the iPods and everything else. Right, okay, so, thank you, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
Thank
Certainly,
you.
sir.
Okay, no other counselors. I guess I want to say my 2 cents. You happen to be right in the middle of my neighborhood, right where I live. And I have
How convenient.
several problems,
Yes.
several issues. Number one, you want to come off 50 Walnut Ave. You want to go underground across a brand-new street that we just repaved. Problem number one. Problem number two is we have no cables going over Shirley Ave. Everything's underground from Walnut Ave down south. And I know there are underground pipes going from the one pole on Walnut Ave, right by number 59 Walnut. There are underground pipes that go under Shirley Ave up to the park, the pole in front of the park. And I'm going to insist that we have no overhead wires going across Shirley Ave at that point.
Understood. That's not a problem.
Now, you're going to use poles going all the way up Walnut Ave, taking a right onto Franklin to a particular pole near Francis Street or Sumner Street, if I'm correct.
I believe,
5 poles up Franklin.
Sumner, right at the corner of Sumner.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are all existing poles, and they all have wires on them already. We'll just be adding additional wires to existing.
I understand that, but my issues are Walnut Ave,
Yeah, no
Walnut
new
Ave
crossing.
cutting, and Shirley Ave overhead.
Well,
So that's something we have to work on. I'm sorry, I had this a couple weeks ago, and I've just been so busy with other issues, I didn't have a chance to call you, but I would like to meet with you
We can do
sometime
that.
in the next week or so.
Sure.
Set up a meeting and we'll walk through
I'm sure
everything.
we can alleviate any concerns about the trenching.
Okay.
Either through
There,
better restoration efforts or.
Yeah, well, if you have to go overhead at that point to cut across,
Right.
that's 50 Walnut Ave.
Yeah.
Going off to the nearest pole, I have no objection to that particular location.
We could look into that too, absolutely.
But, let's get together and, over the next week or so, and I'll meet you down there and we'll walk the area.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to put this in Committee on Public Works. Okay?
Calendar item number 7, communication from the Election Commissioner relative to approving a date for the preliminary election in the City of Revere for September 17th, 2013.
Joanne, give this to him. Motion to place on file, all in favor, all opposed, vote in so ordered.
Calendar item number 9, communication from the mayor relative to confirmation of Joseph M. McHugh as a constable.
Appointments Committee. On motions, Rule 28. In accordance with the provisions of Rule 28, if there are no objections to all of the motions, orders, or resolutions printed in the City Council calendar of this meeting, they shall be approved as printed.
like the
And we'll
25
start on the right. We'll go down from the councilors and pick the number. We can speak up to 3 per councilor. If you have any you would like to speak about, please list the numbers, and we will talk about them upon going through all the councilors.
Calendar items number 10, 11, and 12.
Councilor Correggio.
22, 23.
Vice President Janino.
I only have 3, so I'll be speaking on all of them.
15, 16, and 17. Councilor Guanasso.
21.
Councilor Hess. Councilor Patch.
Pass.
Councilor Penta.
25, 26, 27.
Councilor Powers.
19 and 20.
Councilor Reardon.
Pass.
Councilor Zambudo. Okay. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilor Arrigo, that the mayor request the Director of Finance, in consultation with the Director of Management Information Systems, to post on the city's website an open checkbook to allow residents to search details of spending and vendor payments.
Arrigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure most of my colleagues know, a lot of people out in the public might not know, is that this is a new technology, I guess, putting our checkbook, basically the city's checkbook, online. This is something that's being done in the Commonwealth. The Treasurer Grossman, this was one of his items that he, an election item that he kind of made a campaign promise. And basically what it does is just allow residents to search online for any payments or any vendor payments and any payments that the city makes. And it allows people to track city spending, and it really, I think, dovetails well with this new administration's focus on transparency and accountability. And this is something that a lot of other cities are doing. I know the city of Springfield has added this to their website. The MWRA has also added this to their website. So it's something that I think with our new website we could allow people to be able to look at some of the city spending. Thank you.
All in favor, all opposed? Any? Nope. Vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 11, motion presented by Councilor Arrigo, that the mayor, in consultation with the Director of Finance and the Director of Management Information Systems, allow the online payment of all taxes, penalties, and fees on the city's new and improved website.
Councilor Arrigo.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we have as I mentioned earlier, we have a new website. If we could allow for payments to be made online, I think that would save a lot of people a lot of trouble coming down to City Hall, and would save some people some time. I know it would save myself some time, and I think it would be something that would make people's experience with City Hall a little bit easier. This is something that's again done by a lot of our neighboring communities. I know Malden, Lynn, Chelsea, and obviously the City of Boston all approve and accept online payments, and I think it's about time we get into the 21st century. So, thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that's an excellent motion. It's about time we bring our city residents up to date. A lot of them can't get out from their homes. A lot of them are seniors. I know they can mail their taxes in by mail, but it makes the residents, it gives make life a little easier for our residents to be able to make payments and be able to be on time with their taxes. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? Vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilor Arrigo, that the mayor, in lieu of Valentine's Day approaching, issue a memorandum to the Revere Police Department with a reminder that transient vendors in violation of Title V, Chapter 12 of the city's ordinances are subject to a $300 fine.
Councilor Arrigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. The transient vendors ordinance basically allows for transient vendors given a license, and I don't know if folks remember last Valentine's Day, or the period of time around Valentine's Day, but we had an awful lot of people selling flowers and things on the side of the road. We had a lot of people walking in between traffic trying to sell roses. So this is just a reminder that we should probably, most likely these people are from out of town, and they're taking business away from our businesses that pay taxes in the city. So this is just a reminder for the police that there is a $300 fine for any transient vendors that don't have a license. Thank you.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have this occurring issue every time we have a major holiday. And I think what we also have to do is alert the police department, have our city clerk just send over what the ordinance is to the police department, for they can actually Xerox and put in every car. It's great to say to come up to a place on Broadway and say you have to move to go to the next corner as soon as the police officer leaves. So I think to put the teeth in it, we have to notify the police department with a copy of the ordinance in the said vehicle. Thank you.
Councilor Guanasso.
Mr. President, I think Councilor Regal is right on the money with this, because I recall very clearly last year, and I said to myself, this looks like another version of Boston, where these people are going up and down the medium strip selling flowers. And I just think, again, it cheapens our neighborhood. It cheapens our city by this type of activity. More importantly, as he stated, it takes away the business from people who are paying taxes in our community, who are hiring people in our community, and it's taking from their source of revenue. So I think it's a very fair and only right thing to do by notifying the police department to enforce our ordinance. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council Vice President Janino.
Thank you. I'm really happy that Councilor Regal put this motion, and I think it's a great motion. You know, my family came from the flower business, so local businesses and family-owned businesses are already under enough stress and competition with bigger name vendors, so this only creates more of a hassle for them, as well as public safety when you have these vendors on highways and highly trafficked roads and such. So thank you, and I think it's a great motion.
Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, it's basically out of control with a lot of these vendors with flowers. You see them all over the Squire Road, Broadway, you know, with a pickup truck, and they just pull up to the side of the road and they start selling flowers. So it's not really healthy for the city. It makes the city look bad. We're trying to clean up the city. We're trying to bring a fresher look, a new look for the city, and this doesn't add to the look of the city. So basically, hopefully, this will pass, and I support Councilor Regal with this motion. Thank you.
Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to, Councilor Haas, that was a very good point that he brought up about making the police that work the street, you know, aware of it. I'm sure they're aware of the ordinance, but I mean, things might have changed since I've left, but there never was actually a ticket involved here that they on paper that they could issue, and maybe if you you know, if we do notify the chief and find out if there is if they have, the police have a ticket that issue, that the building department might have the ticket, but it'd be more, I think it'd be more, it would be much better for the city if the police would have a ticket that they could actually give the person right there as he was, so he wouldn't move down to the next corner. So if we could put that, have that checked out to see if there actually is a ticket that they can give. Thanks.
Just as an FYI, I do agree with everybody, and it is an eyesore, and I've even spoken to the chief about it myself. And we have two issues here. Number one, if they're on a state road and they have a state license, a vendor's license, just like the people with balloons and parades, they have a right to do it, unfortunately. As far as city streets, Sergeant Janito now has a non-criminal citation booklet, just like from the Board of Health, that he could cite anybody that's on a city street doing it that doesn't have a state license. So sometimes we're caught in the middle, and unfortunately, this may be one of the times in some locations that we do. But on the motion, all in favor, all opposed? Vote so ordered.
Calendar item.
If I may again, Madam Clerk, just a note, I know we passed over 13 and 14, and although they are passed, The responses will be come back to number 13, back to the Ways and Means Committee, as requested by Councilor Arrigo. And number 14, regarding the Hill School, or the new Hill School, on the update, I've referred that to the Committee of the Whole.
Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilor Genino, that the mayor requests that you just read Mass Highway to install a green left turn arrow at the intersection of Broadway and Park Ave for northbound traffic turning onto Park Avenue.
Council Vice President.
Thank you. This motion came about because, as you guys know, they recently changed the traffic light that affects Central Ave to help alleviate traffic by the fire station in that area of Broadway, which is congested as it is. So by putting this at Park Ave, it's going to alleviate traffic going in the opposite direction. And if we're looking at a new school possibly coming in that area, a new stadium, and all this new development in that area, we definitely need something to look at how the traffic's going to be handled there. And I believe that this light, just as the one on Central Ave has, will greatly help the traffic over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would offer a friendly amendment to this because it just so happens that the last week, a couple of weeks since, as Councilor Giannino referenced, the long-awaited left turn arrow on Broadway and Central, 3 years in the making, which is now working fantastic. Well, I've only been here for 3 years, but at least 3 years in the making. And hopefully at some point we'll get the proper signage up there and the proper lines drawn on the road, but I guess this is about as significant an event for that intersection has happened in the last 100 years. But anyway, with the hopes that it won't take quite as long to respond to Councilor Giannino's motion, I would add that we provide a delay on the northbound red light at Central and Broadway to allow the traffic to clear after the traffic has stopped at Park Avenue, because I've been through that intersection now 3 or 4 times where one car has made it because all of the traffic is backed up there. Now, that's probably largely a function of the fact that there is a delay with the left-hand turn, but it could easily be resolved, as well as work with Councilor Giannino's idea of the left-hand turn by allowing just a left-hand turn at that point, allowing the traffic to clear northbound through the intersection of Broadway and Central Avenue. And I think that would, at least from the signaling point of view, would solve the problems at the intersection.
So noted. Amendment as amended. All in favor, all opposed? Vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Giannino, that the mayor requests the Department of Public Works to investigate and resolve the flooding problem on Squire Road at the intersection of Graves Road.
Council Vice President.
Thank you. And since the meeting has begun, I also spoke with Councilor Correggio, and he asked to be added onto this motion, so if I could add him on as well. But this motion came about with the past storms that have passed. There's been a great deal of flooding in the area in front of that mattress store and the Dunkin' Donuts, and it really is a simple problem. The drain is clogged, and it's causing cars to have to drive over the median and affect all that landscaping that we've just spent so much time and already caused so much traffic over creating. So in this past storm, a bunch of cars had to drive over the median. It was just a disaster down there. I have some pictures. It literally looked like a river in front of Dunkin' Donuts. It was bad. So if this could be looked at, maybe someone in place for cleaning that drain or something, but it's really bad, and it definitely needs to be looked at to help keep that area as well as it looked over the summer. Thank you.
Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's the section of Ward 3 I also represent, and I concur completely with Councilor Giannino. It certainly was a public safety factor in the last storm, and it was really poolside, as suggested by Councilor Giannino, and I was one of the unfortunate people that had to traverse through that. And if, from the fact that I have a high Jeep, I would have been in trouble if I had a low car. It was that out of control. So I think if it's a simple solution as cleaning the drain, I think we ought to do this as soon as possible, namely this week. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Giannino was right. That intersection going out to Squire Road is very dangerous. That catch basin is clogged, and it looks like there's a minor settling of the street, so the public works should give an observation of that street to see about that. But what happens is with the cold weather, any kind of water accumulation is going to freeze, and it becomes very, very dangerous going out to the highway. Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for a bit of information, is the catch basin on Squire Road or is it on Graves? So it may be a DOT, and we could probably get that done quicker if it is a DOT catch basin, Department of Transportation catch basin. Just a friendly amendment.
So noted. We'll also notify DOT on it. And just, although we're going to, we hopefully this will be passed for a response, I hope we may go to Public Works.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilor Janino, that the mayor requests the Department of Public Works to investigate and resolve the problems of the street sinking and of the pooling of water on Winthrop Avenue and at the corner of Washington Avenue and Goldie Street.
Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this motion came about, I got several calls from residents about the past storm. The flooding in this area was really, it was almost scary. The water was coming up the driveways of these residents' homes, and it really literally looked like a river in the middle of the street. You could put a paddle boat up and down Goldie Street. It was horrible. And that's really scary for a homeowner when you see water like that coming up your property, especially with all the motions we've talked about with sub pumps and all this. Something is going on in this area that definitely needs to be looked at. And as well as the street sinking, to my knowledge, the Winthrop Avenue was just fixed recently, and the street is sinking in the same spot that it was originally fixed. So I'm just curious as to why that's doing it again if it was just repaired. Thank you.
Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. As far as the matter on Goldie Street, which is in my ward, as I mentioned earlier, when we had the matter of the Pine Street pumping station, I mentioned the flooding that occurred during those three storms that we did have. I did spend a lot of time down there with Superintendent Goodwin and the mayor. The mayor did respond, and we've had several meetings. Councilor Janino was right. It was like a river on Goldie Street. The big empty lot there was full of water. Unfortunately, that brook that runs behind there, in my time, I've never seen it overflow like it did that time. So that was a big part of the problem. But they are, the mayor and the superintendent and the engineer and CDM are working on this as I speak. I know they're still holding meetings on it. So thank you, Mr. President.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, vote so ordered.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilors Powers and Haas, that the mayor direct the building inspector to investigate the storage of vehicles and other related equipment in the parking lot of Wonderland Dog Track. It is the understanding of the City Council that the parking lot is operating without a special permit and is in violation of the city ordinances, and therefore a cease and desist order shall be issued by the building inspector. This motion was ordered back on October 22nd, 2012, without action.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. As City Clerk said, this is a motion that I put in back in October. It was approved by the City Council on the 22nd of October. Every day I go by there, I see more cars and more cars and more cars and tractor-trailer trucks parking there. They came before the licensing board back several months ago. They were told they needed a special permit. Mr. Henneberry, who was chairman of the board at that time, told them they needed a special permit to park cars there. Now, when they were parking commuter cars, that permit was issued by the licensing board. Of course, a special permit would be issued by this City Council. The thing that really troubles me is that first of all, we haven't had a response to this, number one. Number two, when we had parking commuter cars there, the city was getting a fee for every car parked there, for a licensing fee. And I think with the tight budgets we're operating under today, if people are storing cars down there and getting some type of remuneration for storing those cars there, I think it's very imperative that the city council, if we're going to issue a special permit, and that's if we are, get some type of a reimbursement that we can put in the city coffers to help us in these troubled times, Mr. President. I think Lieutenant Randall went down there recently. There were over 600 cars stored down there and a couple of dozen tractor-trailer trucks. So I think that the building inspector should get down there, make a determination. They're in violation. If they are, tell them they have to come before this city council. And this city council, if we're going to give them a special permit, attach a fee to it for that special permit. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's amazing. They've been operating 3 months illegally, as Council Powers indicated. You know, I'm getting calls from people from the community, what's really going on there? When, in the past, when Wonderland had cars parked there by outside vendors, they did it properly. Right now, no one knows what hand is up. And I think we should have a direct response from the building department in the mayor's office by the next time we meet. Because what's happening is, the land is owned by Fields, Mr. Fields, and he's looking to come into Revere with his casino. Well, I think to be a good neighbor, all they have to do is come before the city council and get the required votes to move forward. I mean, as time goes on, there's more and more cars parking there, but meanwhile, right adjacent to where all these 600 cars are parking, they have a sign. They have closed down the Wonderland parking to commuters. Well, I don't think that's fair to the citizens of our community. It's a money issue, because for every car that's parked there, the city of Revere should receive some sort of compensation. And it should be done properly through a special permit or through the license board. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed?
Calendar item number 20, motion presented by Councilor Powers, that the mayor request a meeting with a representative from Mass DOT to discuss the rate of speed the commuter line train in the lower Revere Street and Oak Island neighborhoods.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, during the past month or so, I've had calls from a couple of residents down in the lower Revere Street area, and telling me that those trains are going through there much faster today than they were in prior days. One woman called me and she said that she's seen a crack in her walls because of the speed that those trains ramble through there. That's number one. Number two, we had a fatality down in Oak Island a couple of years ago. A young boy lost his life. I would think it would behoove the MBTA or whoever is operating that commuter line to, when they leave Chelsea, keep it at a normal speed rate until they get over that to West Lynn there. And if they want to go through West Lynn at a higher speed, that's fine. But these are neighborhoods that these trains are going through, particularly down in the Oak Island area and the lower Revere Street area. So I would like to get some of their representatives here, and let's see if we can get some relief for the people down there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other councilors? Although we will, hopefully it'll pass, I'll ask our response to be put into public safety when we get the response, and hopefully they'll come up. And we will notify MassDOT and MBTA, because MassDOT is in charge of the MBTA right now with Secretary Davey. So on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilors Guanasso and Correggio, that the mayor request the superintendent of public works to investigate the feasibility of installing a catch basin at 20 Elmwood Avenue. This particular area of the street floods during heavy rains.
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Guanasso.
Mr. President, the city of Revere saw fit to issue building permits to people to build a couple of homes in that area. But within the master plan, someone forgot to put a catch basin in there. And it's a daily occurrence, no matter how much rain comes down, this location is completely flooded. Now, I think it's only fair that a catch basin be placed in that area to alleviate some of the concerns and problems. When they have rain in the winter months, with the slightest drop in temperature, they have an ice skating rink outside their homes. During the spring, during the rainy months, they have continuous flooding going into their properties. The people down on that street need some sort of relief, and they need it as quick as possible. And not to make any confusion about it, this is Elmwood Ave, not Elmwood Street. So this is one of the crazy things where we name two streets at the same name. But I want the special attention to be paid that it is Elmwood Avenue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Correggio.
Thank you. I was on that street a couple of weeks ago, and the neighbors brought it to my attention, and I saw what happened there. The water accumulates there sometimes for a whole month. It doesn't go away, and especially now, again, with the cold weather, any kind of water or rain, you'll have an icing condition, which is very dangerous to the neighborhood. And plus, there's a lot of children in that area that live there, and it's also dangerous for those children that have to walk to school in the morning. So it needs to be addressed. They need a catch basin, and hopefully this will pass and we can address it. Thank you very much.
On the motion, although it will be, hopefully it will be passed, we'll have the response go back to Public Works.
Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Correggio that the mayor and city purchaser investigate the feasibility of purchasing goods in bulk and regionalizing purchases of goods with other cities or towns.
Councilor Correggio.
This is a motion I think that's really needed. We're trying to see if we could save the taxpayers some money, and the way the economy is right now, we should try to do everything possible to save every dollar we can, whether it's buying pads of paper or pens or tools or equipment, shovels. Work with other cities and towns if they're buying the same shovel or buying the same type of equipment, whether it's a dump truck or a pickup truck. If they're buying the same thing, we could work with cities of buying the same item and getting it for far less. So hopefully with the budget coming up, with Brian Arrigo chairing that committee, we can work out a plan to purchase equipment in bulk rate. Working with departments, whether it's the Public Works or whether it's up here at City Hall. So hopefully this will pass and we can take this into consideration and save the taxpayers some money. Thank you.
Councilor Hess.
For your information, Mr. President, I believe that we're under the contract with the Commonwealth of Mass, and enough said.
On the motion, and this will be the answer, the response will be referred to Ways and Means Committee. All in favor, all opposed? Vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Correggio that the mayor request the chief of police to increase patrols in Beachmont Square from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. to curb double parking from Endicott Avenue to State Road. This motion is made in the interest of public safety.
Councilor Correggio.
This has been brought to my attention from area residents. You might want to add in from Winthrop Avenue to Endicott on State Road. I guess from 5 o'clock on, they double park in the area down there, especially when people are coming home from work. It's creating a serious safety hazard for that Beachmont Square area. So it needs to be addressed, and hopefully the police can patrol that area and ticket or remove vehicles accordingly. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? Vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 25, motion presented by Councilor Penta that the mayor contact DCR and state delegation to have the sidewalk repaired from Suffolk Downs to Washburn Avenue.
Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this road is actually at the entrance of Suffolk Downs on Winthrop Ave, all the way down to the Beachmont roast beef. It's a hot top. Shouldn't be a lot of money, but I don't think they realize how many people use that since the Stop and Shop, Target, the dollar store and other stores. Just driving here today, 5 people are on that sidewalk, and how cold it is now. In the summertime, hundreds of people use that a day, go do their shopping. So it's something that's a necessity. I actually talked to Senator Petrocelli today, told him that a copy of this be going to his office also. So he'd sit and make a call tomorrow, but hopefully It's hot top, I know the plant's open certain days, it's the winter, but hopefully this does not wait to the spring. Thank you, Mr. President.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 26, motion presented by Councilor Penta, that the mayor request from the MWRA the water and sewer charges billed to each of the MWRA communities and provide said bills to the Revere City Council for the purpose of comparing usage.
Councilor Penta.
Mr. President, thank you. If I can just change some of the wording on that. I want the usage of per gallon or per 100 cubic feet. I know we charge in gallons, but I think they may charge 100 cubic feet. What I'd like to have is the usage coming in and the usage going out. You know, there's a big vote coming up in this council about the sub pumps throughout the homes in the city. You know, there's estimated 4,000 hooked up to the sewer system. And, you know, some of the comments I heard during that committee meeting I couldn't believe. I mean, there's one councilor that said in the 90s when he was mayor, turned his head and looked the other way instead of fixing those problems. You're probably talking millions of dollars could have been saved. Every gallon that goes through there, we're charged 3 times the water coming in. I mean, this is not, you know, the water rates are going to go through the roof, and they're going to be compounded interest with the federal government mandate. So it's no joke of these problems have to be fixed. It's a no-brainer to have those things fixed. It's not a lot of money per home. If there's 4,000, that's $800,000, probably to save millions over the years. That could have been saved over the past 15 years or 20 years if it was done. I mean, I couldn't believe I heard the statement that they turned their heads back then. But that's why I'm asking for this information. I went off the bills. If you look at Revere, it's 2.5 times what we take in to what we're putting out. We're the highest across the whole MWRA cities and towns. So that's telling me that there are a lot of illegal hookups that are hooked up to the sewer system that we should not be paying. We pay $13 million a year as a community. Check out Malden, Medford, all the other ones. We're per highest. When you take in a gallon of water, if you're doing your clothes, how much goes into your dryer you don't pay for storage? It should be a lot less. You're watering your grass, you're doing everything the fire department uses, everything the city hall and things use. We should be paying a lot less going back to the MWRA. So that's why I want to see the usage. I know what I'm going to see, but I like to see it for a fact, because I see it in the money that the city assessed from MWRA. So, but we do add other costs in from the city's end. But MWRA gives us an assessment of water and sewer, which is 3 times higher for storage, which we should be using a lot less going back into the sewer system. So it tells me that there's no question that the water rate payers are paying for water to the MWRA for storage that they shouldn't be paying for. And it's about time that we're going to fix this, and hopefully it's done quickly. Thank you.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the motion is excellent. I think it's about time we get involved with looking at MWRA assessments, both in gallons coming in and in gallons going out. And it'll be nice to see this compared to other communities that are within the MWRA districts. But one issue we have that's compounding this also is the enterprise system we set up for this, the water and sewage. Because we put a lot of stuff into that is not MWRA related. And something Richard mentioned about water outgoing. I know when I was mayor, we brought in the outside water meters. And I never forget the fight we had with the MWRA because they didn't want it to be successful. And I tell you, if the citizens of Revere do not get an outside water meter, because you do save a tremendous amount of money, you're not paying for what goes out, you're paying only for the gallons used. There's no surge or anything else pertaining to that. Thank you.
On the motion, and just for your FYI, the response will go into Ways and Means Committee. All in favor, all opposed, vote and so ordered.
Calendar item number 27, motion presented by Councilor Penta, that the following proposed ordinance amendment be ordered to a public hearing, an ordinance relative to buses, taxicabs, hackney, pupil, or livery vehicles.
Councilor Penta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, Mr. President, the reason I put this in, especially in my area, and I know that you feel in your area a little bit, and it's across the whole city. It's not just in the Beachmont area or the Immaculate area or Ward 2, but it is throughout the city. But I feel that the Beachmont area, more than anywhere else, is really getting inundated with it. And what it is, it's nothing to do with local cabs. The local cabs abide by our city ordinance. But right now, you cannot write a ticket on an outside company as a Boston cab or a livery company that is registered out of the city from the hours of 6 at night to 6 in the morning. When they work, we don't have ticket writers on those hours. So for them, they're running businesses out of their houses. I know several homes that have 4 or 5 livery cars, 2 Boston taxis. They get ticketed, gladly pay it, because by law, they should be parked in Boston somewhere off hours. So all this is asking is a 24 hours, unless you're on a taxi, say Boston cabs are not allowed to pick up in Revere anyway. Every one of them, by law, has to be registered in Boston. We're not making 1 penny on excise tax or anything else, sales tax or anything in these cabs. And I ran every livery car in the Beachmont area. Every one that I ran was registered from another place, not Revere. Right now, in order to get a Hackney license for a livery, you have to go to your city and town and show them a place of business where you park these cars. And every time one came here, they got denied because they don't show it. They show an address of a resident's home. Now, we all know, especially in certain areas, how premium parking spaces are. But I counted yesterday morning 38 Boston cabs and livery cars on streets in Beachmont, and I didn't go through every one of them. That's ridiculous that they're taking up spaces. They're even parked in permit parking areas. So they cannot get a permit because I know they're registered in Boston. That's the law. So all I'm looking for, and I hope this council passes this, is to resolve a problem and have these people live by our city ordinances and live by the law. But they don't mind paying short tickets because it's cheaper for them to park in the street. I see cars pull up on my own street, park, hop in a livery car, and then take off. So, I mean, it's getting out of hand for the Beachmont people. I hear it from probably 8 different streets on a weekly basis. So I asked this council to do it. The police been working with me on this. Unfortunately, they gladly pay the ticket as often as, the cabs aren't there till probably later at night, and you have very few officers on. So it's tough for them to deal with it. And like I said, they're gladly paying it. So it increases the ticket from 25 to 50. It creates a tow on it, and it's 24 hours that they have to abide by it. So I'm asking this council to pass this in the interest of public safety. Thank you.
Councilor Guanasso.
Councilor Penta is exactly right. What it is I notice that it occurs mostly on weekends also. It must be that these cabs are not needed so much in Boston, whereas there's no workers in Boston during the weekend, and they have lesser demand out there. But what they do, and I've heard of it quite a few areas that I represent, you'll see 4 and 5 and 6 Boston registered cabs at a location. And I heard that this particular site that I was talking about, they have about 6 or 7 mattresses where these guys just go sleep for the weekend there. They play cards, and they tie up a whole community with these illegal cabs parked in our streets. I think it's absurd that we allow this to keep going on in our community. And what it does is it's a tremendous infringement upon the rights of the neighborhood. Neighbors are experiencing situations that they shouldn't have to deal with these illegal cars and taxis packed all over our community. So I think the sooner this ordinance is put in place and enforced, the better for our community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, gentlemen and lady, we will refer this to a public hearing, and then it will be referred to Joint Committee on Public Safety and Legislation.
Mr. President, I
Yes,
believe
sir.
it has to go to the Traffic Commission for them to put it out for a public hearing.
Through the clerk.
But to council. Right, but I know I talked to Sergeant Janino that he's already went out with new tickets to be made up. This should be forwarded over to them so they... Okay.
All due respect to everybody, the Traffic Commission never meets. So if we wait for that,
Oh, they're meeting Thursday.
The meeting on Thursday. Well, let's get to them that fast, because I'll tell you the truth, they haven't met in months, and I don't want to see this
I don't
delayed,
think
because
it's-
this is a urgency. I can't stress it enough, as Councilor Penta stated.
No, if the clerk is correct, I'd just assume have
Let's
to
do
do
it, right through here.
schedule on the ticket for the actual fine. The city council can change this portion of the ordinance.
It's tremendous. Go forward.
Okay, all in favor of public hearing? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, two other issues. We have a motion to approve the committee assignments that were passed out. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. And I would like to remind all the councilors that there is a new program called the Facility Dude to write up requests of all the councilors that may have DPW issues that they would get done quicker if, if they would call the clerk, put the motion in, it would get done faster. It would be in the system faster than having to come through a council order. Then by the time it gets out of the mayor's office and down to DPW, could be a week or two before that happens. This way it goes right into the system and they pick it up right away. So I request that everybody make an effort to use the Facility Dude. Call the clerk. Just call me. Okay. Any other issues? Motion adjourned. All in favor? The next meeting will be in 2 weeks, February 11th. In 2 weeks? Whatever it is. February 11th is the next meeting. All in favor? All opposed?